Under mounting public and political pressure, Donald Trump has just ordered officials to release sealed court documents related to Jeffrey Epstein. The files are expected to expose key names, past connections, and controversial case details long kept from public view. The move could ignite a political firestorm. Watch the full video for what's inside the documents, who could be implicated, and why this release could shake Washington.
The truth will set you free. You hear that phrase a lot, right? It feels like an ideal sometimes. But right now, there's this really high-stakes demand for transparency that's, well, it's sending shockwaves everywhere. It's pushing that idea, that aspiration, right into the spotlight. And at the absolute center of it, former President Donald Trump's pretty dramatic order, or demand really, for federal officials to release all the court documents they have on Jeffrey Epstein. So for this deep dive, we've sifted through, a whole bunch of recent news clips. We looked at the announcement itself, the intense public and political focus on the Epstein case, and all the immediate reactions flying around. Our mission today, it's simple. Give you a shortcut, help you understand what this order actually means, why now, the really tangled layers of the Epstein saga, and what could happen next. Okay, let's unpack this, because this isn't just some political headline. It feels bigger. It's about transparency, definitely power, and secrets. Secrets hidden for years. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Absolutely. And when we talk about secrets, seeing the light of day, what's really fascinating here isn't just what might be revealed, it's the mechanism itself, how these things might actually come out. Understanding the context behind this demand, well, that's crucial for getting the full picture.
Exactly. So let's start right there. The announcement itself, where did this come from? Was there a specific trigger? When did it happen?
Well, the announcement, it felt sudden. It came during a surprise press conference, actually, at Trump National in Bedminster, New Jersey. But you're right, it wasn't in a total vacuum. This demand came after weeks, maybe even months, of growing calls. You had activists, journalists, some people in Congress too, all saying, we need full transparency on Epstein. So the pressure, it was definitely building up.
Okay, and when Trump made this declaration, what did he say? What was his stated reason? His intent?
Oh, he was very direct. According to the sources, he said, the American people deserve the truth. Every file, every name, every sealed record, we're going to release it all. Pretty clear. He framed it as wanting to end speculation, just lay out all the facts. And he added something like, it doesn't matter who they are, Republican or Democrat, royal or billionaire. If they were involved, the people have a right to know. So yeah, a very broad, very forceful statement.
It is striking, especially when you think Jeffrey Epstein died back in 2019 in federal custody. Yet this case, it just keeps casting this long, dark shadow. Why is that? Why does it still have such a hold?
That's a really critical point. He's gone, but the case itself isn't over for many people. You've got this sheer number of victims, dozens of lawsuits still winding through the system, and, crucially, all these sealed testimonies and heavily redacted documents, the parts blacked out. For years, those have hidden the identities of, potentially powerful people. There's this strong public feeling that justice wasn't fully served, that there are big unanswered questions about who else knew or was involved.
And it's interesting, too, just watching Trump's own position on this evolve. I mean, he had past social ties with Epstein, didn't he?
He did, back in the 90s and early 2000s. And previously, he'd worked to distance himself from Epstein after, everything came out. But now, he's taking this very public, very assertive stance, demanding these files be opened. And he's not just demanding it. He's also been pretty sharp in his criticism, directly naming the Department of Justice, the FBI, other unnamed officials too, accusing them, and this is a direct quote again, of having intentionally delayed justice for years. That adds a whole other layer to it, right? It's not just about Epstein, it's about the institutions.
And this criticism, this demand, it lands at a time when there's already been this huge surge in online interest, lots of leaks, rumors, whistleblower claims floating around. What are those about?
Yeah, the sources we looked at mentioned these claims suggest there's classified material, sealed court filings, stuff that apparently contains really explosive allegations about all sorts of well-known public figures, politicians, celebrities, maybe even former intelligence people. It's quite a mix. So you have this existing public fascination, this sort of swirl of rumor and intrigue, and that definitely creates fertile ground for an announcement like this. It taps right into it.
So when he says release all documents, what are we talking about specifically? What files are really the focus here?
Well, the reporting suggests the main pressure is on unsealing whatever is left in the civil and criminal case files related to Epstein. which is broad, but it seems to specifically include testimony from Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's associate. She was convicted back in 2021 for her role. So the goal seems to be maximum transparency on documents that, have been really fiercely protected and fought over in court for a long, long time.
Okay, let's pivot a bit then. Let's talk about the reactions and maybe more importantly, the legal side of this. Because like you said, it's not simple. Legal analysts are apparently already saying this could set off a, quote, massive legal and political storm. Well, what kind of documents are we even talking about? Why are they so sensitive?
We're talking about some really sensitive stuff. Things like non-disclosure agreements, NDAs that maybe silenced accusers, grand jury transcripts, those reveal prosecution strategies, witness names, incredibly secret, and suppressed depositions. So sworn testimony that judges decided shouldn't be public. These aren't just random papers. They've been the focus of intense court battles for years.
Yeah.
Precisely because of what they might contain and whose names might be in them.
And what about the groups who've been pushing for this all along? Victim advocates, civil rights groups. How did they react?
Well, as you might expect, they largely welcomed it. Our sources quote one lawyer for Epstein survivors saying something like, "This is what we've demanded from day one. No more redactions, no more protection for the powerful. Let the public see the truth." For them, it's pretty straightforward. It's about finally getting the full story out and achieving some measure of accountability.
But of course, with any big political move like this, there's always another side. What are the criticisms, the warnings people are raising?
Right. You're hearing pushback, particularly from some of Trump's political rivals. Certain Democrats, for example, are suggesting it's maybe a deflection, a way to shift focus from his own legal issues, maybe ignite a media frenzy ahead of the 2024 election. That's one angle. Then there are also these serious warnings, concerns that just dumping all these sensitive court documents out there could actually jeopardize ongoing investigations, or maybe worse, expose victims to more harm, like doxing or just the trauma of having everything dragged back into the public eye so intensely. It's a really tricky balance between the public's right to know and protecting individuals.
Yeah, that makes sense. But regardless of the motives or the potential downsides, the immediate public reaction seems huge. How fast did this news spread?
Oh, instantly. It sent immediate shockwaves. Washington, New York, even international power centers. You saw it light up social media within minutes. Hashtags like hashtag Epstein files, hashtag unseal everything, hashtag Trump disclosure. They were trending almost immediately. The public appetite for anything related to this case is just enormous, and this announcement poured fuel on that fire.
So, okay, the public is buzzing. What about the Department of Justice? Have they said anything? And the really key question, legally, can Trump, as a former president, actually force this to happen?
Right. So, first, the DOJ hasn't issued a formal response, at least not according to our sources yet. And that second part, the legal authority, that's where it gets really complex. As a former president, no, he doesn't have direct authority to just order the courts or the DOJ to unseal files. That's generally up to judges, considering legal precedent, privacy, things like that. However, his influence is undeniable. The political pressure he can bring to bear just by making such a public demand, it's significant. Analysts suggest it could sway congressional allies or provoke new hearings, so maybe not direct legal power, but certainly indirect political leverage.
That's interesting. Political leverage, maybe pushing Congress. Have we seen any signs of Congress picking this up, acting independently?
Actually, yes, some members of Congress, reportedly from both parties, have already started talking about forming a bipartisan committee. The stated goal would be to review the Epstein files themselves and then recommend which documents could be released publicly. But importantly, doing it in a way that balances transparency with protecting ongoing cases and victim privacy. So that suggests there might be a potential path forward through Congress, even without direct executive action compelling the courts.
Wow. So while we wait to see how all this plays out, there are just these massive questions hanging in the air, aren't there, for everyone? Like, what is actually in those sealed files? Whose names might surface? How deep does this whole thing really go?
Exactly. And what's so compelling, really, is that core tension you mentioned, this powerful public demand for total transparency crashing against these huge legal and political hurdles, all centered on a case that just, it refuses to go away. It continues to haunt these global circles of power. This isn't just about names on a list. It feels like a test of whether our legal systems can actually handle this kind of public pressure when, potentially very powerful people are involved.
And it matters to you listening right now because this whole deep dive, fundamentally, it's about public trust. Isn't it? Trust in institutions, trust in the media, trust in how power actually works behind closed doors. It connects directly to this ongoing demand for accountability, for shedding light on things kept hidden for too long.
And just think about this. If these records are fully released, unredacted, it really could be one of the most explosive revelations of the decade. It might totally reshape how we understand who holds influence, who pulls the strings behind the scenes. So maybe the question to leave you with is this: what does the release of this kind of deeply sensitive information actually mean? For justice, yes, but also for privacy, especially in a world that seems increasingly transparent. It still protects powerful figures. It's something to really consider.
Thanks for watching Global Mind News. If you found this report helpful, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We bring you the facts, insights, and updates that matter, straight from the source. See you in the next report.